Hey you guys, good to see you again. Welcome to the show. With me today is Susan Buce, and she is a volunteer on the steering committee for the Fort Dalles Days and rodeo, but you might also know her as the History Queen. So the History Queen, that right there sounds kind of important.
It's a self-appointed title, but somebody had to be queen, so I stepped up to the bar.
Stepped up and wore the crown. Good deal. Well, this year, the Fort, or is it the Fort Dalles Days? This is the part I'm confused on, because there's Fort Dalles Days, Historic Dalles Days, all this, and that's probably part of what you're trying to combine, because I know this year it's going to be like 10 days.
That's exactly right. We had 3 different entities who were putting on events for the community at 3 different times, and this year we've combined all 3 together. We had the Fort Dalles Rodeo, which traditionally is in July. They're normally the 3rd week of July. We had Jammin July activities downtown, which has been the 2nd weekend of July. And then we had Historic the Dalles Days, which traditionally has been in September. And this year we opted to try it out, see what it would be like if we put all 3 of them together. And we're really loving what we're coming up with. We've got a 10-day celebration, and there's so much fun going to be going on in the whole community that we're real excited about it.
That's awesome. So why market all 3 different events separately when you can put them all together and make one great big event out of it?
That's right. So we had the issue this year with Historic the Dalles Days being in September that we were bumping up against the Pendleton Roundup, and this year's their 100-year anniversary. So they were going to be doing a big thing, and we felt that it would be prudent for us to move our time of year that we normally do our historic building open houses. And it seemed like a logical fit to fit in with the rodeo, because the rodeo is an evening of event, and people who come into town for it didn't have much to do during the day. And the Historic the Dalles Days events traditionally are held during the day. A lot of open houses that are going on and activities, and it was a good marriage of those 2 events. And bringing in Jammin July allowed us to extend the period of time that we're making the offering, and that gave us an anchor event for an opening weekend. So
great.
We are loving what's going on with it.
Well, perfect. That's exciting. So now, because when this airs, some of these events will have already just happened, and we'll be right in the middle of some of the events that are happening and about to happen. So what are those? Let's talk about that.
The things that are be coming up are going to be the rodeo events, and that's the core event of the entire celebration. We've got the auction that is going to be benefiting Habitat for Humanity happening on Tuesday, and Wednesday we're going to be having the rodeo slack, which is kind of the opening for the rodeo. It's going to be the contestants that they couldn't fit into the regular rodeo activities. The great thing about the rodeo slack night is it's free admission for all ages, so cool. Families, if you've never been to a rodeo and you kind of want to check it out, it's a great time to go do that. And they're going to be having kid pony rides there, and a lot of fun for the whole family.
Great.
And then once we start moving into the rodeo proper on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, there's going to be a lot of excitement. You've got a lot of crazy cowboys coming to town who are going to be doing steer wrestling and saddle bronc riding, and just a lot of fun and activities.
A lot of great stuff going on.
Yeah.
What about these games for kids? I mean, you guys are going to do some stuff for kids that's like old-time games before we had all of the computer games and things like that.
Right. Kids used to actually play without the help of electronic devices.
Hard to believe, but yeah.
The library is doing that on Monday the 10th, so that'll be over by the time this airs.
Okay.
But kids are going to be learning about jacks and about marbles and hopscotch and some of these activities that maybe they've never tried out before, and they get really excited about it. It's a different way of testing their skills and learning a little bit about pioneer life at the same time.
Great. So the bank robbery, which will have already occurred, unfortunately, but hopefully people can get it next year if they didn't see it this year, but we'll put up some stuff about it. So explain that.
We're going to have a historic reenactment. We're working with the Turkey Creek Desperados who are going to be in town, and they've been casing the place out. So we're working with a gentleman named Gary Van Orman, and he used to be a stuntman for the old Chips TV cop show.
Oh, yeah.
And he's helping us with that activity. And they're going to be going downtown during Jammin July and casing out the Gayer building, which used to be an old-time bank. They're going to be positioning sharpshooters up on the buildings, up on the Pioneer Building, and that's going to be taking place about 6 o'clock on Saturday, the July 10th, during the Jammin July activities. So that'll be a lot of old-time gunfight, shoot 'em out.
A real production.
Right.
Yeah, neat. And the Pulpit Rock, the sermon at Pulpit Rock that always happens.
Right.
And this year, anything different with that?
We are doing the sermon on Sunday, July 11th. Dr. Glenn Buce from the First Christian Church is going to be delivering the sermon. He did it last year for Historic the Dalles Days, and he really got into it. He wore the top hat and the coat, and he just enjoyed it. Climbed all the way up on top of the rock, which if you've never climbed the rock, it's not as easy to do as it looks.
And he had a bad back or something too, right?
Well, he's been having health issues this year, so we're hoping. I told him it would add a little bit of suspense on is he going to fall or not. So we're hoping there's not going to be any falling happening.
Yeah.
But that marks the historic beginning of the town of the Dalles, when the Waskapom mission was established in 1838 by Reverends Henry Perkins and Daniel Lee. Reverend Jason Lee was the Oregon superintendent of the Methodist mission at the time, and he was going back east fairly regularly to talk to people about the wonderful things in Oregon, and it was in many ways his work that triggered the Oregon Trail immigration. So Pulpit Rock is our sermons that we have up there as a way of honoring that original Waskapom mission and the relationship that the Methodist missionaries established with the local Indian community here.
Cool. Good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to keep talking about Fort Dalles Days here on Localite. Stay with us.